So we can start directly with a question. What is the reasoning behind the Data Space Business Alliance in a few words?
I think that the main objective is to share and to take the opportunity to capitalize what has been already developed and implemented either in technological terms and in ecosystem terms. In the reality, our four organizations are strongly interconnected, but are intellectually and operationally strongly interconnected. My point of view is that in synthesis, we are exploiting technologies, we are exploiting ecosystem, and this is a richness that will generate a benefit for Gaia-X, for the communities, for the business.
Yeah, and I think, Dario, you're 100% right, and I think we are living in a very exciting time because we have really the next paradigm shift. I think we all remember the start of internet. We know now that there are a lot of hyperscalers around which basically use economy of scale by connecting people. And from my point of view, data space is the next level we are achieving, that basically not the hyperscaler, not one organization is organizing it, but really it's organized in a federated, very decentralized way. And this is basically the idea of all the initiatives which come together in the Data Space Business Alliance. So from my point of view, it's very important that we want to promote data spaces, that we want to really establish interoperability. We want to establish additional new use cases for this new paradigm shift. And I think what is the most important thing, and it's called Data Space Business Alliance. So we really would like to help users to define new business models based on data. And earlier today, here in the discussion was the discussion about the hubs, and obviously it's very important that we can join forces with our hubs in so many countries and with more than 1,000 members in our four organizations, so that we really can create a lot of momentum. So this really, there are many good reasons to promote data spaces and to go forward. But maybe Thomas, you have something on the hubs.
Yeah, I add on this. Thanks, Reinhold. Thanks, Dario. I think Boris also explained this yesterday very good. That the data-oriented association are teaming up. Nobody beside us can do it, and we will do it. First statement. Second statement, you have here, when you're looking at what we are covering when we are teaming up together, we have the data infrastructure, needless to say in this round. We have the data spaces, needless to say in this round. We can create value out of the data to create impact business, like Reinhold mentioned. As we can cover, let's say, the complete data stack, let's phrase it in this way, from the infrastructure, data spaces, getting value, industrial AI, industrial data, to create impact in the different initiative. Gaia-X was, I think, on stage yesterday. We know in health, we know in mobility, we know in industry, manufacturing. And that's, let's say, the topic. We are teaming up together. We the only one can teaming up together, and we will do it.
Just, it's been all said now, but that's good. I think what the actual outcome will be, and that's what I also hope will happen, is that for those who want to build data spaces, it's much more easy, right? Because we create this complementary view, and it's not a requirement basically on the one who drives the data space to make it up by him or herself. So I think this will make it easier to build data spaces, and that's what is ultimately then, driving this market forward.
Going back to the hubs, because we had an interesting discussion. You saw how many questions we had. We couldn't even stop the rotation of the questions coming in. But it's also extremely relevant to the DSPA Alliance. How can the DSPA Alliance, in fact, leverage from the current hubs that we have set up within the Gaia-X Association, but equally so from the next hubs, the potential hubs? How can we make this alliance even more successful?
Maybe I start first.
Yes.
Sorry for this. We have in Gaia-X 14 hubs in Europe, in different countries, and also one outside Europe, as known. These are really in a country and hub, which are some kind of coordination point, which are taking care what industry data space is relevant for the country. You know this from Spain with tourism, for example. You know this from Germany when you're making automotive. You know this from Netherlands when you're looking at health. That's one topic. But we have also, with all our organization, when we're looking to IDSA, also to FIWARE, we have also a lot of decentralized hubs. Also BDVA has 30 hubs, maybe more research-oriented, maybe more distributed. But you can imagine when we really bring this network together, how strong we can be. And that's what we want to achieve. And you know, there's also an initiative, where IDSA and others, BDVA, are participating in the European Federation Data-Driven Innovation Hubs, where the 30 hubs, which I just mentioned from BDVA and IDSA, are somehow collected inside. Let's bring this together with a Gaia-X hub, form a map, providing our customers, so to say, and single-stop shop, so to say, and help them where they get help when they are regionally distributed. I think this would be really the strength besides the technology stack, which we just described before regarding the first question.
Yeah. No, Thomas, you are exactly right, and I think what I would like to add, supporting your idea and supporting what you're describing, that I think we are already active with the 4 organizations in the most relevant parts of the world. So we basically have a lot of activities in Europe altogether, but on the other hand, we are talking about Japan from IDSA, we are talking about Brazil. I'm personally heavily involved in the discussion with China to even set up a hub in China. So I think it's not only about Europe anymore. It is still about promoting European values, but the ideas really of the hubs is basically promoting real European values globally and basically support the idea of data sovereignty, and basically last but not least really support the implementation of new use cases. So I think the hubs from my point of view play a very important role in supporting the ideas we all really appreciate, and we really bring the activity forward because we have to be close to the partners, close to the industries, close to the people in the regions, and I think this is exactly what the hubs are supporting us to do.
Gaia-X is also about business value, and also these 4 organizations, obviously when coming together, they came together with one common direction, to create business value. But in fact, how can we collaborate to increase and enhance this business value coming from different organizations, but still streamlining and optimizing our processes in a certain way that we can indeed create the business value that we need?
I really would like to go back one more time to the hub question and how it helps, and then we can move on to the... I think, building something, starting a nucleus is probably always easier in a local environment, right? And I think we saw it in many of the data spaces, like the automotive, which could be like global from the get-go, right? Because it's the nature of the market. Other data spaces may remain a little bit more local because it's a more local problem. But I think starting it is a nucleus. Building something is probably going faster when you take a local approach. And that's the beauty of how we build Gaia and the hubs. It will be much more easy to go then beyond the local status because of the system we've put in place with the coordination and so on and so forth. And that's what I believe is the true value. You can start fast, but you don't build then something locally that will never fit to stuff that is happening elsewhere. And I do believe, as I said, there are different types of data spaces. Some will remain local. I mean, some you're just solving, local national problems. Health, for instance, is a good idea of which will be partially local, partially global, I believe. And then there are others which are by nature global, essentially. So that's my view on that. I wanted to share that. But now I don't know if you want to also talk about that or go back to the.
I think you had the same problem that I had before with the microphone.
That was my phone.
But besides from this, I think that it's important to underline that when we speak about, first of all, apps, we have an ecosystem of hubs that are worldwide already. I mean, if I consider the number of hubs that we have with International Data Space, with the FIWARE and so on, the number that we have set in the alliance in terms of membership is something that becomes really a minor thing. Because if I just take the example of FIWARE, we have 40 FIWARE labs around the world. That meaning from Japan to India to South America to US. And this means that substantially we have a presidium of ecosystem that are already implementing data-driven application. Now, what I'm proposing in terms of value proposition that comes from the Data Space Business Alliance is to create a test environment or a development environment that is based on our technology. This is simply what I'm proposing, for example, in Italy, as I'm a member of the temporary steering committee of the Italian hub as well. And what I'm proposing is to create substantially a development environment that puts together all the components of FIWARE in technological terms, together with international data space connectors, together with clearly Federation Service, in order to create data-driven and data-intensive business application that can fit the needs, and I would like to speak about business pain and business needs, because this is the essence that we have to address, starting from this common technology that are already available, that are already implementing the most part of the interoperable logic that we want to achieve, and are based on data. So this is the real essence that I think we can produce, and the impact that we can put forward.
So there
and maybe to add, Vassilia, sorry for jumping in.
It's okay.
You maybe are not the nicest person in the panel because
It's
one is
okay.
jumping in.
Go ahead, jump in.
I think we have heard some numbers about hubs. When you roughly calculate it up, then we have a network for around maybe 100, maybe some are over them, we have 80 or 60. I don't count this precisely. But we have a huge network, full stop. That's the first topic where we can build on it. Dario mentioned perfectly the importance of data. And this is also, with this association, we can look what is the impact, what is the industrial AI, what are the industrial data, what is the value we get out of the data. And that's the reason, let's say, where BDVA, but all with others, also not, we can only do it together, where we can really together create impact, to create value out of the data using AI, and now maybe and this is exactly where we can create value, business value, because this was your question, and maybe a second remark, I think Dario mentioned this regarding the European values. Here we all are inside, in the Data Act. All the topics what we are addressing with Gaia-X. We are looking what with AI Act, what we can do. And really to have our values, our European values, and now coming back to the hubs, to distribute, to use this as a competitive advantage for us.
I think a competitive advantage and even a requirement to get going, right? Because one of the reasons why it hasn't happened especially when we talk about core production data, core data, it hasn't happened, is that there are limited, if you don't have a federated system that we are talking, you don't have a chance to go to what I always call to share for a use case, but not to give away the data forever. And if you don't implement a system like this, it'll never happen. And that's why I think it's enabling it has an enabling character, and that also needs to be, I think, made clear. In this element of what we are talking about when it comes to sharing and working across the value chain, core data, this is day 0 basically, or day 1 at best. I mean, the future is really 99% ahead of us, and the amount of potential which sits in there is in my view, is mind-blowing, because everybody is looking at his piece for now. And that's why I believe it's so important to build this up. And it will only work if it works for the end users, so the ones that actually have the data today. And that's why I'm always saying it has to be allowed and acceptable. Those two things together, otherwise it doesn't work.
Can I comment?
Yes, go ahead.
Frankly speaking, I think that, I heard before to speak about diversity. I think that, diversity can be incompatible or a great richness. So we work together because we are compatible and we can create value added. Through diversity, we remain as we are for the time being, but we are reasoning about collaboration as the key asset to create value added. And we have already it available. This is why we have been start to speak each other, and we have created this alliance. Now, maybe I simplify, but this is the reality.
Given that you're talking about collaboration, which takes me to the next question, what kind of system do you think will be the first to be created by the collaboration of these 4 organizations? And obviously, this question is extended to all of you.
Okay, as I was saying, first of all, I am pushing as much as I can the creation of labs that integrate the different technology that we can put on the table. And in the same time, I am mobilizing some of the FIWARE high-ups in order to start using, for example, International Data Space Connector to consider the algorithms and the potential that comes from BDVA. By the way, we are really interconnected because we work in all the initiative. And clearly, we are working in order to make sure that interoperability is based on Gaia-X principle using Federation Service. So this is a key concept, but I think we need really to establish some labs where this technology are available together. And this is what I'm pushing in Italy, for example.
Yeah, in addition to what Dario says, and I agree 100% on his statement, I think we really have to create a reference in a technology framework to create the interoperability. So this is the technical aspect, but on the other hand, I think we as well, and this was discussed earlier as already, we really have to create the environment that business is enabled and business is supported, because eventually we are not only talking about technology, we are really talking about promoting using data, creating value out of data, and really adding value not only to the individuals, not only to companies, but as well to the society. And I think this is something which, as I said earlier, it's really differentiation compared to the classical hyperscalers already, which mainly create value for themselves, offer obviously services to the customer. But I think what we really need to promote is really equal opportunity for everybody participating. And this is really supported by our federated system, and I think this is exactly what we have to make real alive for the people around us, because that's a value everybody can use, and this value we really would like to communicate. So communication with the same message, from my point of view, is another very important aspect which we really already start today and started earlier, but we have to go forward as we speak.
And maybe to add, because to get it live, and Vassilia asked also what the next concrete steps is. Also thanks to the people, Anna, Francesco, Ulrich and Lars, who are driving our organizations, they have an 100-day roadmap filed to have it not just on paper. No, we do it. And this 100-day roadmap include, first of all, one chapter about framework. You know, Reinhold mentions this. You can also say hubs, a map looking inside how the bits and pieces are fitting together. Second topic is regarding guidings and tools. For example, I know IDSA is looking for a maturity topic to help our people to apply this digitalization. Third dimension is about deployment, how we roll it out in use cases. And for sure, the other dimension is how we facilitate our joint ecosystem and how we affiliate data spaces with support center. Also meaning it's not only, let's say, some kind of four nice people, maybe not for me nice, but the other three are very nice. And for sure, Vassilia, you were at the first. We are not speaking only, we are writing this down, and we have really a good backbone in the topic with our, rounded up maybe 1,000 members in doing this, and in this roadmap, the 100-day plan.
Okay, and as a closing statement, if we were to define this collaboration with one word, I begin with the word collaboration. How do you continue? Trust?
Oh, I would continue with the word multiplying effect.
Multiplying effect.
Scaling up data sovereignty.
Data sovereignty. Thomas?
Confidence between us all.
Max?
Now I have the biggest challenge because I have to choose the last word. I think is, maybe it's not a sexy word, but I would say reuse, because one of the things that we as the kind of new kid on the block as Gaia are doing in this to say, look, and I think it's a general thinking within Gaia is to not just think, okay, what can I do, but also what's there, what we can reuse and build on top in order to accelerate and pull together the concepts and technologies that are there. And I think that's one of the important elements of also this partnership.
Dario?
I would like to add one element that is related to a discussion that we had in one of our last conversations, that, by the way, is weekly happening. And this is related to a word that we may say that is a challenge. So what we would like to do in the near future is really to identify a common projects that already use our joint technologies in order to deploy data sharing services for a relevant community. So far we are discussing about what is this data space that could benefit as a first example of our joint technology together. I think there are a number of challenges, for example, that could be put on the stage. Before we had the discussion about the impact of Gaia-X in public administration, and you were answering to that. Now, there is a discussion that I would like to address that is very relevant at European level, that could be well addressed with our technology, that is the civil status. Civil status is something that pertains European citizen with a national identity. And I think it would be extremely relevant to work together with public administration, European public administration, in order to create a European civil status Gaia-X compliant application based on our technologies. So challenge.
Great. So at this time, I would like to thank you all. It was a pleasure. Thank you for your time, your availability. Great speakers, great panelists.